don't have service.
The fuck? Dude, that nigga got an AK.
Hell yeah, he does. Look at this fucking wacky motherfucker. He got fucking serious fucking gun. Oh, now he's getting a motherfucking. Oh,
He's grabbing another gun.
oh,
Oh, he's grabbing something bigger.
we're getting the fuck out of here.
I don't have service.
The fuck? Dude, that nigga got an AK.
Hell yeah, he does. Look at this fucking wacky motherfucker. He got fucking serious fucking gun. Oh.
Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakakwadash. Double honors to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone who rule well, and peace, love, and salutations to the hopeful elect. This is your brother Dawadah from the Men of Valor Camp here in Greenville, South Carolina. Coming back with another video in sincerity and in truth, and Lord willing, it can be edifying. And the clips you just saw are from TikTok, okay? They shows the guy shooting into the Tesla, you know, and then other than that, he's just running around with the gun, right? Now, I saw this on X or Twitter. I saw this before, like, the news pretty much broke on it. You know, again, they're showing you the power of social media and these cell phones, you know, these phones that have these cameras, all right, and shit goes viral. Before the media could even like spin it or whatever, you know, we're seeing the live footage of this guy. Look, it's in broad daylight at an In-N-Out Burger. Okay? I don't have to read an article on this. Does anybody, you know, before they try to spin the narrative on this shit and try to say he's Muslim or he's this or he's that, you know, I can't tell exactly what he is. They haven't, you know, released any information on who he is. Okay, because it's not something that they could just, you know, it's not a Jake, right? And it's not a clear, he's not wearing a turban or anything like that, you know, so they can't deem this just like a natural terrorist attack. You know, he appears like fair skin, you know. But before that narrative could get out, you know, we're seeing the video of this. And this is a microcosm of America in a nutshell. Okay? This is a bloody city. Full of lies and robbery. It was founded on blood. It was founded on robbery and deceit. Okay? They fought the British right here on this land. But to even get over here, they had to, you know, took down Gad. And then they brought Judah over here to till the land. You know, they marched Gad and Reuben. Well, Reuben was fighting. You know, but Gad, you know, over here in the Carolinas, you know, on this side, they had something called the Trail of Tears, where they marched tens of thousands of our people, men, women, and children, all right, in the wintertime, from all the way over here, all the way to fucking Oklahoma, I believe, you know, to a reservation. This is how this nation was founded. You know, you people have so much pride in this shit, and they want you to forget about this, but this is the truth. This place was founded on bloodshed, you know, and on the backs of the Israelites, okay? You shed Israelite blood. There's law, all right? We're going to grab that through the spirit, you know? Blood defileth the land, all right? And that was a law that was given to Israel. But see, the laws, you know, that's the law of the land, okay? Because in the kingdom, those very laws are going to be established throughout the earth. Every nation is going to have to adhere to this law. But that just shows you that Esau is adverse to everything that is within the Lord's holy law. Again, going back, this place was founded on bloodshed, yet they say we're the violent ones. So you have another public shooting, another mass shooting. You know, and yeah, Jake be having his mass shootings, but they be in the hood and they be at night. And for the most part, you know, they done did some public hits before and shit like that, but you know, this was out in the open. You know, they can try to say he was mentally unstable. That's a demon. That's a spirit created for vengeance. And apparently he's already dead. They killed him. You know, they didn't take this guy in. You know, they didn't take him to Burger King like they did, who was it, Dylan Roof? That was that nigga name? That went into Charleston, that Charleston church, and shot it up and killed a bunch of Jake that was in there. And where was your Jesus during that? All right, when that Edomite came and blasted on y'all. I don't think I was in the truth yet when that happened. Okay, mass shootings, you know, I'm a young man. Mass shootings have been a thing, you know, even right before I was born. Columbine, you know, I heard some brothers mention Columbine. You had Columbine, you know, I remember the Sandy Hook shooting. I was in middle school. And I remember they used to leave doors unlocked to the different classrooms. They stopped doing that shit around, like I was in like 7th grade. They started locking the doors, you know. But guess what? That didn't stop fucking shootings. All right, who be shooting up these schools? Did Jake be shooting up? No, it be fucking Edomite shooting up these schools, man. Esau is the bloody man, and his spirit is on America. Okay, so whatever narrative, I say all that to say, whatever narrative they try to swing on this, because I don't, you know, there's not a whole lot of information on this. We have this video, though, and I didn't know, like, you know, of course it looks real, you know. It's like, damn. You know, you're seeing this live. It looks like a video game. We're so desensitized to violence. You know, the shit just look, when I first saw it, I'm like, shit, the shit just looks like surreal, man. You know? The spirit of America, all right, this is spiritually Edom. Okay, and Esau, you know, he's a bloody man. You know, he like his meat bloody. All right, he's cool with the violence. You know, he doesn't have that same conscience that Jake has when it comes to bloodshed, man. You know, Jake could at least have a conscience. Now we have the curses on us now, so our eye is evil toward our brother. That's why you see a lot of the cartel violence and the hood and gang violence. But Esau naturally hates himself. Hence why when he gets upset and when he feels like he's at his wit's end, he kills his whole family. Okay, this isn't some theory. You know, this isn't some stereotype. No, this is a statistical fact. It just doesn't make as much news, you know, but they be taking themselves out. So why would Jake think that he would ever fucking love you? You know, show you how violent this fucking guy is, man. I believe this guy's an Edomite. It might come out he's something else. I think they said he's Bosnian or some shit like that, which that's a Edomite country. But, you know, they closer to, like Greece. You know, I had met a Bosnian chick, you know. She looked like she was kind of like Greek or Italian, you know. You know, over there closer to the equator and shit, if I'm not mistaken. All right, but nonetheless, this is that bloody city. All right, but let me grab, I'm gonna come back to this. Yep, Numbers chapter 35 and verse 33, it says, so ye shall not pollute the land wherein ye are, for blood it defileth the land. And the land cannot be cleansed of the blood that is shed therein, but by the blood of him that shed it. That's in the law. Okay, so the Lord is applying this to America. America's going to be taken out because you didn't just shed any blood. You shed the blood of the children of Israel. Yep, here we go right here. Ezekiel chapter 35. I mean, I can say, Might as well start at the top, verse 1. It says, Moreover, the word of the Lord came unto me, saying, Son of man, set thy face against Mount Seir and prophesy against it. Mount Seir is you Edomites, you so-called white people. Because I noticed I was listening to an old video, or a video I had just did, and I'm speaking about Esau, assuming that most of whoever's listening knows who Esau is. Esau Edom is a self-proclaimed white man on the planet Earth, okay? And he's been running and hiding from his heritage, for centuries now. That's why he started calling himself white. Before that, European, but you're an Edomite. Your biblical nationality, if your bloodline if you're a true white person, because not every person that looks white is white, so to speak, so-called white, really red. But if your line goes back to Esau, if Esau is your forefather, you are an Edomite, okay? And the Lord has a perpetual hatred against you because you had a perpetual hatred against us. And the Lord said, he that toucheth you toucheth the apple of mine eye. So it says, Son of man, set thy face against Mount Seir and prophesy against it. And say unto it, Thus said the Lord, Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai, behold, O Mount Seir. And it's speaking about the government, but all the Edomites gonna get it. But the who's the upper echelon of Esau now? It's Amalek ass. You see all the special privileges and shit they have, and they're about to make. Hey, Marco Rubio came out and said, you gonna get it. You can't get a visa if you get caught talking bad about them tiny tots, man. This is the extent they're about to go to stand on the fact that they are not the people, and they're claiming to be the Lord's people and possessing his land. But the Lord already sealed your fucking end, dude. Behold, on Mount Seir, I am against thee. All right, the Lord said it plainly. He's against you so-called white people. And I will stretch out mine hand against thee, and I will make thee most desolate. All right, he's speaking about America. All right, because not every Edomite, all right, is going to be destroyed in the day of the Lord. All right, every Edomite in America is going to be destroyed. All right, but not in the world. All right, Esau is going to be a slave. Okay, every Edomite is not going to be destroyed on the day of the Lord. But America is going to be destroyed, and whoever is in our land, anybody in our land, and anybody in America, if you're in America or if you're in the land of Israel on the day of the Lord, and the elect get beamed up, and then missiles rain on this bitch and on that bitch over there. Or I ain't gonna call our land a bitch. This is the bitch over here, Salakia. Over in our land that they've defiled. That's gonna have to be cleansed. So the Lord said, I will make thee most desolate. Verse 4, I will lay thy cities waste, and thou shalt be desolate, and thou shalt know that I am Yahweh. You gonna know. All right, because right now, nobody puts their respect on the Lord's name, man. No one fears the Lord outside of the elect, the hopeful elect. Verse 5, and here's the point I wanted to grab. Because thou hast had a perpetual hatred, and hast shed the blood of the children of Israel by the force of the sword, in the time of their calamity, and the time that their iniquity had an end. See, we're in the time where our iniquity is having an end. The Lord is giving us his name back. We're standing upon our feet. This was the first and only captivity where we lost our heritage completely. Okay, when we were under the Persians, which now they call themselves Iranians. Okay, we still had our customs. Even when we were under Rome the first time, we still had our customs. But that was when we ended up getting dispersed in 70 AD. But once this time slavery came around, we lost our heritage completely. Okay, that's what the scriptures say after 3 days and a half, that 350-year period. We straight up lost our heritage. But now our iniquity has an end. But you still look how they act toward us. Here it is, they have all the power, all the authority, and they still hate us. They still kill us. They have everything. You see that? Verse 6, therefore as I live, saith the Lord power, I will prepare thee unto blood, and blood shall pursue thee. Since thou hast not hated blood, even blood shall pursue thee. See, you haven't hated blood. That's a perfect scripture. I don't want to make this video too long. Verse 7, I'm going to finish, I'm going to cut it off right here. It says, thus will I make Mount Seir most desolate, and cut off from it, see, that's the spirit, that passeth out, and him that returneth. See, that's the end of America, man. But if you were just wondering why we have all these mass shootings in America, all in the schools, damn, the children not even safe. And the scriptures say the Lord kills and he makes alive. He created these spirits that are created for vengeance. Okay? So when the Lord puts a spirit on these people, they could be living a normal life. Like a sleeper agent. The Lord got sleeper agents. They could be living a normal life. They ain't had a record or nothing. They got firearms. And then the Lord just flips a switch in their ass, and then they go shoot up and down, in and out, in the middle of broad daylight. That is the latter end of America. You're about to see more of this. And it's unfortunate. That's why to you Akim, and Akwath, it's imperative that we have faith in Yahweh Bashim Yahushai and to remain vigilant, because it can go down at any time. It's demons everywhere. It's by the mercies of the Lord that we're not consumed. We have to trust that we have angels. The angel of the Lord encampeth round about them that fear them and delivereth them. We have angels protecting us from situations like this, so you ain't in the wrong place at the wrong time. Because really it's not. There's no such thing. Okay? The Lord kills and he makes alive. He wounds and he heals. So when it's time for somebody to go out via a damn public shooting, there's nothing you can do to offset that. The Lord has already set that forth. That's the story of this person. But there's a certain spirit in America that just receives violence. Why? Because it was founded on violence. This place came in bitter, bloody and bitter. And it's going to exit bloody and bitter. How about that? That's judgment from Yahweh Bahashim Yahushua, man. So let me finish off here. Nahum chapter 3 and verse 1. Woe to the bloody city. It is all full of lies and robbery. The prey departeth not. Woe to the bloody city. Woe meaning death, destruction. The bloody city is America. Do your own research if you don't think America has been bloody. All right, you think God just gave up the land? You think God is a warrior? God is a troop. You think God they were deceived. But even when they fought, the Lord, it was our time to fall. The Lord allowed Esau to begin to perfect his sword. And he's been perfecting it ever since. Now he's at his ultimate level of pride because he has these plasma weapons. He has some, you think just because you got a Draco, they dropped the Draco off in the hood and shit. That's old, man. That's 30-year-old technology to Esau. He got stronger shit than that. He got some shit that'll destabilize your ass, man. Knock you unconscious. You ain't even gotta, and then they'll just double tap you. You back in the spirit world. That's it. That's all it takes for this devil now. He know where you at. We all got tracking devices on us via these cell phones. Cause you can't use a lot of these apps unless you got your damn location on. So again, it's gonna take divine intervention, you know, from the Lord to make it through these times. But there's more that be with us than them that be with them. The chariots are, hey, we might not see them all the time, but they're there. The angels are in them. The eyes of the Lord are 10,000 times brighter than the sun, and the sun been hot lately, man. You know, you feel the sun's presence. Think about it. The Lord created the sun, man. The Lord is more powerful than the sun. And his eyes are 10,000 times brighter than the sun. So he sees all, he hears all. There ain't nothing getting past the Lord, man. America's not about to slip through the Lord's fingers and get away, because they got some, you know, some technology that the Lord gave them. But he gave them that so that, you know, their pride can be built up to show his power in destroying this bitch, man. And that's where we're at. But not to ramble on. Lord willing, this is edifying. You know, I just wanted to show that video, you know. That's the spirit of America right now, man. You know, just wait till you introduce food instability. Lord willing, this is edifying. I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Makakwadash, and double honors to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone who rule well. Peace, love, and salutations to the hopeful elect. Till next time, Shalom.